Welcome, welcome, welcome. In case you haven't figured it out yet, this is Out of Bounds. I'm CJ. It is January 3rd, almost 3 p.m. And we're back. We're back to do another PrizePicks NBA breakdown board. Me personally, I had a rough night on PrizePicks last night. I had a couple of really good plays there, a couple of good 5-pick flex plays that I had going, and Andre Drummond. Some nights Drummond be drumming. Last night Drummond wasn't drumming, and it cost me some bucks. It definitely cost me some money last night, but we put that behind us. We have to have a short-term memory here on PrizePicks because it's a new night, a new slate of games. What happened last night? Yeah, it's a thing of the past. So we're going to get into it. And if this is your first time joining me here on Out of Bounds for one of my PrizePicks breakdown videos, we do this daily. So if you're an NBA fan, if you're a PrizePicks fan, if you're an NFL fan, this might be the channel for you. So definitely subscribe, like, leave a comment below, and definitely hit the little bell there and turn on those notifications so that whenever I post a new video, you know about it. All right, without further ado, we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with a little bit of NBA player news, see if there's anything that's going on in the association that might influence our picks tonight. So we got Blake Griffin, concussion, joins his teammates in the starting lineup for Sunday's game against the Celtics. Okay, Blake will be playing. Ben McLemore, Kenyon Martin Jr. cleared to resume activities. Okay, JJ Redick, slow start. Stan Van Gundy says it's his fault. Love to see a coach owning up to that. Obviously, JJ and Stan, they have a little bit of a history going back to their days with the Magic. Speaking of the Magic, James Ennis, right hamstring strain, listed as questionable for Monday night's game against Cleveland. That doesn't really impact us for tonight. Caruso, health and safety protocols ruled out for Sunday's game against Memphis. So no Alex Caruso for the Lakers. Killian Hayes, Pistons guard Dwayne Casey says, or Pistons coach Dwayne Casey said on Sunday that indecision and overthinking have been issues for Killian Hayes so far. Okay, so that's to blame for his slow start. Evan Fournier is dealing with back spasms. Marvin Bagley's father requested that the Kings trade his son following Saturday's loss to the Rockets. Wow. Big news there. Big news there if that actually happens. I don't think it will. I don't know that Sacramento wants to trade somebody that they just spent one of their top draft picks on, unless they get a handsome bounty for him. All right, so let's get into it. Flip on over here to PrizePicks and take a look at the board today. We've got a game that's going to be tipping off real soon here, Boston and Detroit. I won't waste your time or my time going over that one, but because by the time this video is done and edited and uploaded to YouTube, that game will have already started. So, unless you play second half, which PrizePicks, they only post second half boards for some of the games, not all of them. So we're just not even going to waste our time there. So we could skip past that row of players and jump right into this row. And we've got a lot of great names in this first row here. We've got the Washington Wizards versus the Brooklyn Nets. Guys like Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving. Pretty star-studded. Pretty packed full of names there. So let's start with Bradley Beal real quick. As we did before, we're going to go just site by site here. I've got 3 sites that I pull up that I use for a comparative analysis against PrizePicks. So we look at PrizePicks projections first, then we bounce around to these other sites, kind of get a feel for, are these guys, PrizePicks, on point with their projections, or are they too high, too low? And that might give us the edge. And we're always looking for an edge, right, as daily fantasy sports players. And for these projections, we look at FanDuel scoring, because FanDuel scoring is the closest thing. And in fact, I think it's identical to PrizePicks and their scoring system. So we use FanDuel and their projections to help us get an idea of how a player's performed recently and what he might do on any given night, like tonight. So Bradley Beal, first guy up, 44 points projected for tonight. So we go over here to Roto Grinders. We hit shooting guard and it filters them out. And we see Bradley Beal's at 43.5. So pretty close to that 44-point marker. Switching over to Fantasy Pros, we go to the shooting guard position. Bradley Beal, 44. So I'm sensing a little bit of a pattern here. Bradley Beal looks to be around that 43 to 44-point range on all sites so far. Bradley Beal, 36. 36. Now, that obviously seems more like an outlier, right? So we had a 44, 43, and then all of a sudden we have a 36. So maybe we could check his game logs and see what he's done recently. So we'll throw out his first few. We'll look at his last three. 46, 40, and 42. So, he's been in that 40-plus range, 40 to 50, sometimes even over 50 for the start of the season here. So, you got him at 44, 43 on most of these sites. With this particular one, this would be a situation that I would avoid because I just don't feel like there's enough of an edge compared to what PrizePicks has him projected at. So this would be a situation where I would say, I'm skipping over Bradley Beal. I'm going to fade him. But, you got to decide for yourself. Do you want to roll the dice and try to pick the over-under on a guy that maybe PrizePicks has pretty solid at 44? Not me. Typically, I'll just skip over somebody like that and I'll look for a better play elsewhere. So let's check into Kevin Durant. Taking the under on Durant to start the season was very profitable. He did have a pretty big game last game, I want to say. So let's see if 49 is possible for KD. They have him listed at small forward over here on FanDuel. So 49.96. Right on the money. Small forward here on Fantasy Pros, 47.6. So they like the under on KD. And RotoWire has Kevin Durant at 42.85. They seem a little low so far in the first two guys that we've looked at. So RotoWire, a little under on all the guys we're looking at. So let's take a look at his game logs real quick. Let's take a peek at how Kevin Durant has performed recently. You got a 47, which would put him under tonight's projection. Then you got a big one here at 60. So that's over his last two games. He has not faced Washington yet, so we don't have a game log for a previous matchup against Washington. So we don't really know how he's going to do in this particular matchup. But this is another situation where, the site PrizePicks is pretty much on point. If I were to go one way or the other here, though, I'd probably lean toward the under on Kevin Durant. As I mentioned before, that's been very profitable for us to start the season, especially if this game is projected to be a blowout. So let's take a look at that spread. So it's 124 for Brooklyn versus 116 for Washington. So that's a pretty large spread. You're talking an 8-point spread, right? So on an 8-point spread like that, there's potential for blowout. And we know with blowouts, guys like Kevin Durant, veterans, they typically don't make it all four quarters. If anything, they might play the start of the fourth quarter and then get benched prematurely. So if that game does blow out, the under becomes even more attractive on a guy like Kevin Durant. And that is the same for, a Bradley Beal or a Russell Westbrook. We'll look at Kevin Durant's teammate, Kyrie Irving, another big star on tonight's slate. He's projected for 46 points. So we filter back over to point guard. Kyrie projected for 45 on Roto Grinders. We check Fantasy Pros. Kyrie is projected for 46.5 on Fantasy Pros. And last but not least, RotoWire has Kyrie at 41.29. So again, they're very low on their projections tonight. Kyrie's projected at 46. You see him on a site like RotoWire and, the 41.29. Do they know something that we don't know? Is there an edge or something that maybe they have that we don't know about? I'm not so sure on that. I do know that Roto Grinders, their projections are dynamic. They do update throughout the day. RotoWires has shown that they do update throughout the day as well, but, for whatever reason, they're just light on all the guys that we've looked at. So 45, on Roto Grinders. Let's look at his logs: 42, 41, 36, 58, 35. So he's got one game of going over 46 so far. So I'm going to take the under on Kyrie, and I think you guys should probably too, especially if you think that this game's a blowout. That's a big thing. I've been winning money all year long with NBA, playing those second half blowout games, picking guys from those blowout games, taking the under. Sometimes I feel so good about it that I power play it, which gets you a bigger payout, in case you're unfamiliar with how PrizePicks works. So this could be another one of those situations where, you grab a couple of these guys and, there's a second half option posted on PrizePicks. Throw a few of them together, take the under unless there's like maybe a young guy that's available, maybe like a guy like Karis LeVert in the second half. Once KD and Kyrie go to the bench, you could take a Karis LeVert over and combine it with the unders on Kyrie, Russ, Beal, Durant, and there you go. You got a 5-pick that has really good chance to do something special if there's a blowout in that second half. So let's move along, though. Enough about that game. We've got Anthony Davis, LA Lakers, taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. He's projected for 45. It's been kind of a quiet start, I think, for Anthony Davis this year. Kind of up and down. Haven't really seen too many monster performances out of him. Let's take a look at his numbers and see how the other sites feel about AD, the brow, 47.51. So that would be over 45. 54, monster over there. They think he's just going to crush that PrizePicks projection. And then 47.24. So, we've got 3 sites that think Anthony Davis is going to go over 45 tonight. When there's 3 sites that all agree, I tend to not disagree with that. The only issue is, we're going to talk about it again because this could be an ongoing theme with the way that some of these games look tonight. There could be a blowout. And when you take the over on a 45-point projection, you're going to have to hope that guy gets a full run of minutes. They have him projected for 35 minutes tonight. If this game blows out, there's no way Anthony Davis plays 35 minutes tonight. And it's projected to be a 9-point spread. So Memphis could get blown out, and then Anthony Davis could see the bench and call it an early night. So it looks good. The projections look good on an Anthony Davis over, but you have to be careful of the blowout. This could be a situation where if it does, Davis just isn't going to get there for you. So watch out for that. We'll talk about LeBron James. We can't do a PrizePicks NBA board breakdown without talking about King James. Let's take a look at where he's at on Roto Grinders. LeBron projected for 48.78. Take a look at Fantasy Pros. He's listed as day-to-day, by the way. I don't think that's anything to worry about. 52.8 points on Fantasy Pros, and then we'll switch over to RotoWire and let's see if they're underweight once again. They are very underweight on LeBron. 39.88 for his projection. Strange. I don't know. Maybe we can't trust RotoWire today. Maybe we throw all the RotoWire projections out the window because they seem to be way lower than anything else. LeBron's at 47. Quick glimpse into his game logs. Over 47 here, over 47 there, over 47. So, the first few games of the season, the guy was under 47, but look what he's done in his last 3 games. And that's really the ones that I want to look at because, everybody's pretty much up to speed now. The conditioning should be there. The rapport and the chemistry with, the new teammates that they brought into LA, guys like Dennis Schroeder, guys like Montrezl Harrell. You would hope that these guys have a rapport now, and it seems that they do. LeBron's really starting to hit his stride here. I think in this particular case, if this game does stay close, I like LeBron to go over. But you have to ask yourself, does it stay close? I will let you guys decide on that one. Nikola Jokic, Another star we have to talk about, one of the better big men in the NBA. 51 points is his projection tonight. Flipping over to Roto Grinders, checking out the center position. 55 points on Roto Grinders. We'll call it 55 here on Fantasy Pros. And finally, 49. So they're under again. I mean, they've been under the other sites that we use all night long. So that's interesting. He's projected for 51. The guy has crazy upside. I mean, look at his ceiling here. 78 points. He could smash. He could absolutely smash. But let's take a look at his game logs for a little more information. 46, 52, 69, 47, 68. So, 60 to 70 point upside on any given night is well within, the realm of possibilities here for Nikola Jokic. Based on what I'm seeing here, over, and then these guys are just weird. We're not even going to worry about them. I'm taking the over on Jokic. This game doesn't seem like it's going to, be a complete, it could be a runaway, actually. Could be a runaway. It's actually a 9-point spread, so that's another one of them situations, guys. You have to consider the blowouts here. You have to consider the blowouts. Moving on, D'Angelo Russell, you have been bad all year. I'm not even going to look into Russell, but I can tell you this. Taking the under on Russell has been a good thing for most PrizePicks players, I would say. He just hasn't played well. I don't know if he's missing Karl Anthony Towns in the lineup. Him being the lead guy, maybe that's a little too much for him to shoulder. Whatever the case may be, Russell's off to a pretty slow start for this season. Let's take a look at Rudy Gobert real quick, another big man. Gobert is projected for 38. That would be under, 39 under, and 39. So finally, RotoWires comes through with a reasonable projection on Gobert. But look, those unders, they are just slight unders, right? They're just slight unders. So in this situation like this, that would be a situation where I might want to just fade Rudy Gobert and move on to someone else. So Luka Doncic. So we have to take a look at Luka. He's another guy who has started off the season poorly to his standards and to our standards, really. He's questionable tonight. Do we have any information on Luka? They're all expected to play Sunday. Luka, Tim Hardaway Jr., Trey Burke, Dorian Finney-Smith. Excuse me. We're throwing this information out. This is old. Luka's been beat up, though. So seeing a Q next to his name is something that I've gotten used to. But anyway, 52, 54, and finally, RotoWires, 53. All right, so he's right in that 52 to 53 point range. He has struggled. If you want to take the under here, I completely get it. Look at that. 4 out of 5 of his last games. 4 of his 5 last games, he has went under. So taking the under here is not a bad look. Dallas is projected to be a pretty big favorite against Chicago tonight. So, I mean, it could stay close until the later stages of the game. Hopefully, when you play a guy like Luka, the reason that they're going to, possibly run away with this game or blow Chicago out is because Luka's doing well. But that hasn't been the case always for us this season. So, I'm probably favoring the under on Luka once again. Do I want any other piece of this Dallas-Chicago game? I mean, Zach Levine, he's kind of been, he's kind of a pseudo star, kind of a guy that you expect a lot out of because he's, playing with a bunch of younger guys in Chicago. He doesn't always shine like the pseudo star or the star that he's supposed to be. So, but this guy right here is a star. Kawhi Leonard, obviously if you've been paying attention, he took a nasty shot to the face. He's wearing the goofy looking mask. I saw a funny meme where they had a picture of Rip Hamilton and his mask, obviously famous for wearing that clear plastic mask. It's the mask you ordered versus the mask you receive. And the mask you receive was the one that Kawhi Leonard was wearing. So that was pretty funny. But he's projected for 45 tonight. Take out centers here. So he's 45 on Roto Grinders. They're right on the money. 44 on Fantasy Pros. And 44 on Roto Wire. So that's going to be another situation where I don't think that there's enough of an edge here for us to make a play over or under on Kawhi Leonard. I'm probably fading Leonard and looking somewhere else, trying to find an edge somewhere else. Devin Booker, 36.8. I won't dig too deep into him. I'll just say that they're finally catching on. Devin Booker was priced up in the, was projected up in the 40s for a few of the games to start the season. And he was another guy where you just hit under every night on him. Under, and it would work out in your favor. They finally kind of caught up and have caught on here. And I think they projected him appropriately at 36.8. You got Paul George at 40. He's another star worth looking at. The spread on this game is actually really close, so I don't expect it to blow out. Neither does Vegas. 109 to 109.5 to 106. So if you're worried about a blowout there, don't be worried. Paul George projected for 39 here on Roto Grinders. 38.5 on Fantasy Pros, and finally 39 on RotoWire. So they're right there in that range. I mean, if I was leaning one way or the other, it would be the under on Paul George, based on the projections that I'm seeing across the industry on him. We're almost done here. Thanks for hanging in. I try to get you as many picks, as many plays as possible. I try to dig in as much as possible. Sometimes these videos go a little longer. Sometimes they're going to just be short. Hopefully, though, you're finding some sort of value. If you are, definitely take a minute. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on those notifications. Leave me a comment below. I always like to hear who some of your favorite picks are on the night. So if you have time, drop a comment below. I love to see what you guys are thinking. Maybe you put me on a couple of sneaky picks for the night. Who knows? So Chris Paul, we'll take a look at his game logs. He's been pretty decent to start the season. Tonight they have him projected for 31 minutes, and he's going to be projected at just under 35 points. Against his former team, the LA Clippers. Should be an interesting matchup. A lot of star power in that game. They have him projected for 36 on Fantasy Pros, and RotoWire has him projected for 29. So they're way under on Chris Paul again, and that's kind of been the case, the theme that we've seen with RotoWire today. For some reason, their projections a bit light versus PrizePicks and Roto Grinders and Fantasy Pros. So for whatever reason, they're way under on Chris Paul, but based on what I'm seeing here, Chris Paul's probably closer to that 33 to 35 point range. And looking at his game logs, I think that they would agree for most of the games, 37. Then you got a 24, a 22, and a 28. So those games way under, right? 55 and a 23. So 4 out of his 6 games to start the season, Chris Paul has went under. So if you are feeling like he can possibly keep the game close, then maybe he gets deeper minutes. I mean, his minutes have been under 30 for a lot of these games, and I think that has a lot to do with his output. But this game, again, doesn't look like a blowout, so I expect him to get a full run of minutes, as many as he can handle. 31 might be a little bit light. They might need him, to play closer to 34, 36 minutes in order to keep the game close and to pull out the win. So Dame Lillard, another guy I've been hitting under on every game, and it's been working out for me. He's projected for 47. I still think that they're too high on Dame Lillard based on what has transpired over the start of the season here. But let's look and see. 43. So they're way under Dame Lillard. They agree with me, and I agree with them. 49. They're over on Dame Lillard. So there's a little discrepancy there. 43. So they're under as well. So the 47, I just think it's too high. I think it's too high. And I mean, the game is expected to stay close, but Lillard just hasn't looked the same. I don't know if it has something to do with the injury he suffered last season. I don't know what's going on, but he hasn't been the same dominant Dame. It hasn't been Dame time as much as it was in the past. So 29 here, 49, 41, 31, 52. So he's broken the 47 marker just twice, once against Houston and in his last game against Golden State. But you have to ask yourself, do you think Damian Lillard can do what he did last time against Golden State? I don't know. Based on the sample size here, it's hard to feel confident that he goes over 47. It took him 21 attempts to get there. I mean, it wasn't an efficient game by any means, but, you know, he can do it. There's no question. He's got the talent. We know what Dame Lillard is capable of and what's possible, but I don't know. He's been one of those guys where it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust. I'd probably take the under here. Steph Curry, another guy that I've just been locking in the under every night. Curry, for whatever reason, I mean, he's playing on a pretty bad team. There's no Klay Thompson. There was no Draymond Green to start the season. He's still limited, so that's another guy coming up here. We won't talk about him. Not really worth talking about. But Steph Curry, 48 points. He's projected for 49. We'll just call it 49. Might as well. 47 here, so that would be under. And then he's projected for 44 here. So the theme continues with RotoWire. For whatever reason, they keep and continue to be under on a lot of these guys tonight. So I'm probably leaning under on Steph Curry. It's just worked out for me. I think it continues to work here. Let's see what he's done. His last game against Portland, he hit 42. Prior to that, 44, 155er. There's a 33 and a 42. So 48. He's only broken 48 one game, guys. Against the Bulls, the lowly Chicago Bulls. You know, this game's not projected to blow out, but you know, Curry's just not been the same guy. So I'm fine with taking the under here on Curry. Last but not least, the guy who's really been balling out for Portland, I think, has been McCollum. More often than not, a lot of these games, McCollum's been kind of the go-to scorer, the guy who's getting all the points. Let's see if he has a chance to do that again tonight. We filter out all the other positions, just looking at shooting guard, 38 points. He's projected for 38 points here. And finally, 34. Again, I don't know who's making these projections on RotoWires today, but it's a little weird. They're a little light. They're a little under the projections that we're seeing everywhere else. So this would be a situation where you'd probably want to go over on McCollum. 36.5. He's projected at 38 most places. His last game against Golden State, he just crushed. No big deal. That's what we do. These CJs, me, Mr. McCollum here, we just crush. And I think he crushes again tonight. So I like the over on CJ McCollum. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you found any value, if you liked what you saw, if you have any suggestions, I'm here for it. Leave a comment below. We're getting better every day. Hopefully the content gets better as we grow, as we progress, as we refine. I mean, that's what this is all about, right? We're always looking to get better. Better at PrizePicks, better at making content, trying to give you guys exactly what it is you want to see on a day-to-day basis. Definitely share this video with anybody you know who's into sports, who's into PrizePicks. But for now, that's going to do it for me and for Out of Bounds. Until next time, you guys be safe.